Okay, hi, I'm Dr. Ebonie, again here at the Present eLearning Systems Conference at the Indigo Hotel in Los Angeles. I am here with Mr. Scott Marshall. He is a head of KLM Laboratories, which does amazing things for orthotics and AFO braces. Biomechanics is one of the amazing sectors of our field of podiatry that separates us from other physicians. I can't tell you how important it is, but I want to introduce a guru in the field of podiatry and of orthotics. And in your own words, I want to ask you, how important is biomechanics, and tell us exactly what you do.
Biomechanics is probably the most important technology developed in podiatry. And what it does is it really combines all the different aspects that we need to control the function of the foot. So my company manufactures custom foot orthotics, all by prescription of all kinds of materials. They all have different applications, etc. But they have to be incorporated with surgery and with biomechanics, or we're not going to keep that patient's feet healthy for a long period of time. So if we have a patient, for example, with hallux adductor valgus, and they go in and do a bunion surgery on it, if that patient doesn't wear foot orthotics, the causes of the bunion are going to cause the surgically fixed bunion to recreate itself.
Right.
And so foot orthotics go hand in hand with the treatment programs that are implemented by podiatry.
So you would agree that orthotics can be used before surgery, after surgery, and for a mini array of pathologies. Conservatively speaking, if a person is not an eligible candidate for surgery or doesn't necessarily need surgery, how important are orthotics for those people?
Oh, critical, because the orthotic can really allow them to move and ambulate freely. You know, as we get older, as we put on weight, etc., you know, it's so important to be out and moving and about, and that's one of the key things that a foot orthotic will do. You know, my father was a podiatrist, and he didn't do surgery. He did conservative treatment only, and so did most of his colleagues, because they weren't surgeons. They weren't trained to be surgeons at that point in time.
Right.
So all this technology in foot orthotics was developed to really help people that they couldn't treat surgically.
Right.
Then once they became surgeons, orthotics are now a critical part of keeping those people up and about and preventing whatever reason they had to have the surgery from happening again.
Right. Speaking of the newer technologies out there, I know personally I have a lot of patients that come to me who've been to the mall and had the Dr. Scholl scan. Can you kind of speak to those more commercial orthotics and versus a more custom orthotic?
Right.
What's the difference, and how does one differentiate whether to get an off-the-shelf one or a custom one?
Well, that's an excellent question, and one of the key parts of that question is there's these over-the-counter systems where you can go and stand on a force plate and have them say pick box number 25 from the shelf or whatever, and they're very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And most people that have a foot problem, they start there.
Yes.
Because that's their easiest access. So actually, some of those methodologies lead the patient to the podiatrist because the store-bought fancy Dr. Scholl's didn't do the job correctly. The other thing is all those fancy systems cannot capture the 3D shape of the foot, and they're all typically done weight-bearing. One of the most important things we do with a functional orthotic is capture the shape of the foot in the non-weight-bearing position so we can try and hold it in the best position possible for transferring all that gravity from the ground up through the body.
Right. Okay. So that's a very interesting point that you bring up. So you're saying that the commercial way of doing orthotics causes you to just be weight-bearing, and that's not a very accurate accurate way of casting someone for an orthotic as opposed to you holding the position of the patient in a more appropriate position to fit the orthotic.
Correct.
So with that said, I know that there's a lot of ways of casting a patient for orthotics that people do differently in practice. Can you mention those different ways and then maybe tell me your preference of which one?
So the basic ways are, there's what we call the foam impression box, which is basically a box filled with foam that the patient steps in, or the practitioner pushes the patient's foot in to capture the 3D shape. And then we have different materials that you can wrap on or around the foot to capture that shape: plaster, STS socks, etc. And then there's also now digital scanning, where we take a digital scan of the foot and capture all the 3D information, and then we can make the orthotic from that. They all work well.
Perfect.
It's up to the practitioner to really do a good job of capturing the shape. If the practitioner is just going to take a digital scan but is not going to do it correctly, it's no better than any other.
Right.
What's nice about the new technology is we eliminate all this turnaround time. So a digital scan, I have it in my lab within minutes after you take the scan. If you use a sock or you use a foam box, that has to be transported to me. And if you're in New York City and I'm in Los Angeles, that's a week each way.
Yeah, that's true.
And the turnaround time may be 3 days or 4 days, whereas if it's digital, cuts it in half.
So basically, as long as it's measured in a non-weight bearing standpoint correctly with lower human error, it's going to be an effective orthotic. However, if you do it digitally, it gets to you faster. The patient gets it faster. Absolutely. That's something to think about. So now tell me a little bit more about your laboratory, how it got started, and what kinds of services that you are providing to podiatrists.
Okay, so my father was a podiatrist, and he had 3 sons, and I think he finally got tired of bailing us out of jail, and so he decided to have us learn to make foot orthotics for him. So when I was in high school, I started actually making foot orthotics for my father, and then we slowly started making them for his friends and his associates, and we just stuck with it. We started in 1974. It's 2020, so we've been at it for a long time.
Excellent.
We have probably 50 different variations on the basic orthotic theme, depending on materials and applications and how soft or how firm it needs to be. And then we also do all of the AFO, the ankle foot orthotics, as well. And we do all of that totally custom by prescription, and all of it totally over the counter as well. So our company really addresses the entire marketplace. So if you go to Dr. Scholl's thing, you may end up with one of our over-the-counters. And that may work. And if it works, fantastic.
Perfect. And if not, you can always get it custom.
It's going to end up in our, in our shop or in your office. And I like to give people this sort of an explanation. Today we all wear more or less generic clothes. You wear a certain size dress, you wear a certain size pants, you wear a certain size blouse or shirt. But boy, if I could have my clothes custom made, I would do it in a minute. And so custom is always going to be the best.
The best thing for you. Great. Well, can you describe to me, anecdotally, of course, working with podiatrists in the field and what kinds of pathologies that you're helping to treat?
Well, we basically work with almost all pathologies of the foot that have to do with the function of the foot. We don't really deal with biochemical issues and stuff like that, like diabetes and so forth. We build braces to help diabetics prevent ulceration and prevent limb loss, etc. But we focus specifically on fabricating the brace. What I love about podiatry is that that is the only specialty that combines not only surgery but orthotics and podorthics to take care of the patient as a complete whole. If they go to any of the other specialties, they may get an orthotic. They may get a foot massage, or they may get surgery, but they don't get the whole package.
We definitely encompass a lot. So thank you so much